guest and their amazing knowledge with you guys. Today is no different. We have a super awesome guest for today's show. We're going to be talking about Facebook groups. Facebook groups are kind of a hot thing. Even though they are not new, they are still hot and a huge opportunity. So I'm excited to be talking about that today. As you guys are coming in, though, just give me a shout out. Where in the world are you and how are you today? How's COVID life treating you? Most of here in the Florida, we're still limited. We can do a few things here and there, but for the most part, I guess we're out and about with our masks on, of course. Hey, Lisa, good to see you. Glad you're here. So like I say, for the most part, we're all, we can go to the grocery and go to the restaurant, you can go to the doctor. For the most part, things are pretty much normal, except I have not been to the hairdresser yet. So yeah, things are getting a little crazy there. But anyway, and let me introduce myself, and I would love for you guys to introduce yourself. If you're brand new to my show and have never been here before, just type in, hashtag new and your name, because I'd love to e-meet you. And again, if you're new, you don't know who I am, my name is Kim Garst. I'm an online business strategist. I love helping people grow their businesses, specifically create more revenue in their business using digital and social media. And Paul, I just want to give you a big shout out. You're always here. Thank you for joining us again and being a part of the show. So thank you so much for not only being here this time, but like I say, you're here quite frequently when I go live, and I'm always appreciative to see your name and your comments. So thank you. And one of the things we do each and every show is we do some giveaways, guys. So if you would like to win a couple of things, or have a chance to win a couple of things, then type in your aha moments. So hashtag aha, and let us know what really resonates with you. Like if you hear something that you're like, wow, I didn't know that. Or if you hear something that you've heard before, you know it, but you need to hear it and you need to listen to it and you need to take action on it, then type in whatever that is with your hashtag aha, because that's how we choose our winners. Today we're doing 3 giveaways. One is, I'll just pop this up. It's a little thing that you put over your webcam. So it's a webcam cover to keep people from spying on you. Evidently, that's kind of a big problem these days. So having a webcam cover is a good thing. And then we also are giving away a ring light. So you can just put this on the top of your phone, have a great light source. And again, if you don't have one, these are great for your briefcase or your pocketbook or, on the go light, so that you always have that great light source. And we're also giving away our sponsors tool, which is, our sponsor is easel.com. Let me start there. If you're not familiar with Easel is a graphic design platform. So you can create basically anything that's graphic related, whether it's your social media post or, to a menu. If you have a restaurant, there's all kinds of opportunities, presentations, etc. Very similar to other graphic design tools. But what I find is really exciting about Easel versus some of the their other competitors is the fact that their templates or pre-designed templates are amazing. They have real graphic designers on hand creating new content each and every day. And so their content, their templates, pre-designed templates, are amazing. We're going to be giving away 3-month trials to that tool today. So again, use the hashtag AHA, and you could be chosen as one of the winners. So you definitely want to check it out if you don't win, by the way, because it's an amazing tool. Okay, so let me introduce our special guest. I'm always excited when we have amazing people, and today is no different. So today's special guest is Dana Malstaff. And if you don't know Dana, she is the CEO and founder of the Boss Moms Facebook group. And it's bigger than just the group, but we're going to be talking and focusing primarily on that. But she launched that brand with her first book, Boss Mom, The Ultimate Guide to Raising a Business and Nurturing Your Family Like a Pro, in 2015. And it started a real real international movement. And the Boss Moms Facebook community has organically grown to over 50,000 members. I was just in there just the other day, and there are now Boss Mom local meetups in over 80 cities. Talk about a movement, right? And she believes that we need to show our children that doing what we love can be financially viable and still be there for our kids. This woman she's after my own heart here, because that is why I started my business almost 30 years ago, was because I wanted to be able to stay home with my littles. And so it's amazing to see so many people, so many women coming in and embracing this, doing something that they love, monetizing something they love, and still being able to be home with their littles. So you guys give a great big welcome to Dana. I want to call her Dana for some reason. I'm sorry, Dana. I keep butchering that.
No,
How
it's
are
okay.
you
I
today?
just say Dana Banana. Everybody just says Dana Banana. It makes it easy.
Now, let me ask that question. Do people usually call you that, or do they get past it after they realize it's Dana and not Dana? I'm just curious if people do call you Dana Banana.
It depends on whether or not you have ever known a Dana before, then it's impossible to remember Dana. If you've ever known a Dana, then it's impossible to know a Dana. I have to put a second N in my phone so Siri pronounces it right. So I'm used to it.
That is awesome. That is so awesome, though, that you have figured out how to best Siri. There you go. That's awesome. So as we're getting started, I would love to know, when you first started with the Boss Mom movement, how did you come up with that idea, and how did it get started? Maybe that's a good place to kind of let everybody understand that, how you launched the movement out the gate and what your vision for it was.
Yeah. So I I went to quit my job and start my own business and become a consultant from a mentor that told me you need to go out and consult. And I basically went out, and everybody took me out on New Year's Eve on my last day of work and bought me tequila shots, and I got pregnant. So, and which I joke with everybody, where my husband would be like, "This way too much information for people," and I was like, "If you can't handle where babies come from, then you're not going to be able to handle running your own business." So I found myself being a mom and an entrepreneur within like the same 24 hours, basically. And I wanted to be great at both. I had no idea how to do either. And I, went through the figuring out what my brand was and what I was going to sell and building a website while being pregnant with my first child. And once he was born, realizing I didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. It was just not how I'm built. I need to build things. I need to solve problems. I need to figure things out. And I grappled a lot with whether or not that meant I was a bad mom. And it made me feel really guilty and sad sometimes. And I felt very alone and isolated. And when he was about 5 months old, we were in Columbus, Ohio. And I remember being at a restaurant and sitting there and seeing a woman and her child and her mother, the grandmother, there, and I just started crying, and I called my husband and I said, could we move out to California, where I'm originally from, and to be closer to my family? And it was 11 below in Columbus, Ohio, and he's like, I will quit tomorrow. That is an easy yes. And we moved out to California, and then something amazing happened, which was I figured out that it really is who you surround yourself with, because all of a sudden I was around women who had babies and businesses. And I realized that being around people who are like you, being around people who don't make you feel crazy, but make you feel brave, are the exact people you need to be around. And in that time, I met up with a friend of mine, a good friend of mine now, but Azul Toronas, who was a book coach. We were in a mastermind together, and he basically said, if anybody wants to write a book in this group, I will help. I'll help. And so I was like, absolutely. I was a journalism major in school. Both my parents are published, and I had wanted to write, was part of my bucket list. So I sat down, I thought I was going to write a content marketing book, and I ended up writing Boss Mom. and going out into other communities that I was in and asking them to help me name it and the cover, and got advanced readers and did all of these things to really understand what people wanted. And in doing so, I realized how needed this really was, how many other women that felt alone and isolated because they wanted to do something outside of just parenting. And we started, once the book was published, we started the podcast, we started the Facebook group, and we've been boss momming everything ever since.
That is such a wonderful story, and rooted in something that really mattered to you. I think the passion piece of it, and understanding that other people can come alongside you in that passion. They have the same exact desires and needs and wants. They just needed community. I think community is so important when it comes to Facebook groups, and probably arguably one of the biggest values. Would you agree one of the biggest values of Facebook groups is the community aspect?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my good friend Mark Schaefer, he does in his whole keynote presentation he normally does. He does this great North Face commercial that he plays, and it shows all of these people with frostbite and they're climbing mountains or they're running long marathons and doing these things. And it over the front it says crazy, and then it slides underneath and it switches it out and it says brave. And it's this whole idea that when if I were looking at that, I'd go, are you insane? Who would ever do any of those things? Like, your bed is so comfortable. Your home is so nice. Like, I want a cup of coffee ready with me every morning. But when you hang out with other people that love doing those things, then you're not crazy. It's exactly what you should be doing. And I think every aspect of our life, we need to think about that. We are surrounded by family. Oftentimes we don't choose, right? We're surrounded by proximity and workspaces, or virtual workspaces now, or our neighborhoods with people that we didn't choose. And those people may be wonderful, but they don't always share our exact passions. And inadvertently, even though they care about us, they end up making us feel bad about what we love to do. And then we all just walk around feeling like we should be somebody different. And I think Facebook groups has unlocked this amazing ability for many things. But one of the big ones is for us to find people who love very specific things like we love them, and that make us feel like caring about those things are completely natural, completely normal, and should be celebrated.
Amen, sister. I agree wholeheartedly. For all the bad things, there is good. Tony asked, what is the name of your book? It's Boss Moms, right?
Boss Mom, yeah, just super easy. You go, if you put it in Amazon,
Yeah.
it'll pop right up.
Awesome. Okay, Tony, go grab that because I'm going to go grab it because I haven't read it yet. So I'm definitely going to go grab it. Um, so I know a lot of people, if they're thinking about a Facebook group or, don't understand the value of a Facebook group, one of the questions I get quite frequently is, do I need a Facebook group or do I need a Facebook page? Which, I mean, you probably hear that a lot too. What's the real benefits of a group versus a page? And do you need both?
Yeah. Well, yes, they serve two very different functions. A Facebook page is, I describe a Facebook page like the menu outside of a restaurant, right? Where you look at it and you're deciding whether or not you want to come in. So while people do absolutely have Facebook pages where they go live every day and there's a ton of engagement and all of that happens, it's very much centered around them because they're the only ones posting and other people are engaging with their posts. They're engaging with what they have. But most people actually use a Facebook page to be sort of a billboard for them to say, here's the things that are going on. Here's, my episodes that are coming out. Here's the content I'm creating. Here's the things I'm creating. Here's what I'm doing. So, and because organic reach with Facebook has continued to diminish, I think that's generally what especially most boss moms, because we only have most boss moms can only work up to 20 hours a week. And that's really all that they've got. So they use their Facebook page for that. The Facebook group, though, I tell people that if you build it the way I tell you to build it, then it is an ecosystem, which means it is not dependent upon you. So, for instance, my dad passed away a couple of years ago, and I remember just being distraught. And there was a good month and a half, maybe 2 months, where I couldn't participate in my own. I was just, anytime I would turn on a camera, I'd just weep, and it was not a pretty sight. So I backed off. my group actually grew. It didn't go away at all. It didn't stop engaging because we had created an engine. And if you create it the right way, a Facebook group is a lot like a little city, a little town, and everybody has a part to play, and everybody is up, lifted up by engaging and connecting. And there are the people that naturally are going to flag things that aren't, within the rules, or people who don't have good intentions with your group. And you're naturally going to have the people that connect each other and tag each other, and naturally have the people that are your motivators and your teachers and those kinds of things. And so if you can work it the right way, and it's easier than people think, then all of a sudden you have an ecosystem and it's not dependent on you. And in this day and age where we are constantly creating content, constantly being online, constantly having to do more, new, I think the idea that something could run without us having to be the engine that runs it is very liberating. And I think it also helps with something that, in my opinion, is one of the most important things, which is that people in this world are feeling undervalued. They don't feel loved. They don't feel cared about. The people, even our kids and our husbands, are the worst at telling us that we're loved all the time, even though they don't mean to. And because of that, you have people that are yearning to be valued. And when you create a Facebook group in the right way, those people have a voice, and they have a place to connect, and they have a place where somebody else in that group is going to appreciate them. And that's a beautiful thing. And they will become loyal members that help your group grow for you. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, I so totally agree. Years ago, I think I first heard this from Ryan Dice, and he said, people will buy content, they'll pay for training, but they stay for community. And that has definitely been my experience with my Facebook groups, because you're connected. If you build a true environment where people are accepted, they can be seen, they can be heard, or feel like they're seen and heard, and that everybody has that same, they're on the same road, they have that commonality piece. It's a sense of family. Maybe that's the best way I can think to describe it, where, people, about their deaths and their births, and you pray for one another. I mean, it's just a real interesting dynamic that doesn't happen anywhere else in any other social media. In my experience, Facebook groups are kind of a really tight knit, again, if you build that aspect and build it, to your point, correctly. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to that, like when you're thinking about building it correctly, when you first started building your group, how did you start? Like, how did you get your, I'm sure what you were doing then is different, perhaps even than what you're doing now. But for those that are just getting started or want to get started, how did you start getting new people and the right people into your group?
Yeah. Okay. So I basically grew up with we called it the MacGyver family. So you duct tape anything, right? We'd rather build it than buy it. I was a journalism major. Then I went into, and I got question-based selling, appreciative inquiry certification. So I'm a big question asker. I used to run focus groups and things like that for large companies. So I have this massive background of asking questions. The better the question, right, the better the answer. And so one of the things I've done from the very, very, very beginning is I haven't relied on me teaching. I've relied on me facilitating. And in that facilitation comes really good questions. So one of the first things I tell people that I did in the beginning, and that we do now, and that I recommend always, is don't go into your Facebook group thinking that it is a platform for you to teach. You already have a live show that you're doing. You already have a podcast or a YouTube channel or a blog or something like that. There is a time and a place for teaching, and we have very specific recommendations on when you do that in your group. But it is not a platform for you to teach, right? It's a platform for you to facilitate. You're facilitating conversations, and in doing so, you become the person that is connecting everybody. You become the leader. You become known and become sort of famous in your own space. And because of that, you get all the same clout and all the same benefits as if you were trying to teach all the time. But when you teach, everybody gets they shut off and they listen, but they don't interact as much, right? So that's one of the first things, is facilitate versus teaching, and asking really good questions. And I have a methodology I can talk about for exactly how you ask good questions. But that's number one. Number two is vulnerability, of just being honest when I'm a hot mess. So everybody's about authenticity right now. And it's the fact that I'm not perfect. I don't need to be perfect. And the more that I am like the people that are coming in, and we can connect on that level of how it's hard to be a parent or the things that I'm going through, and us connecting on that level. So the more authentic you can be, where we're not just posting prompts or things that are sort of on the surface, the more under the surface we can get, the better. So that's number two. And number three is celebrating together. We have to celebrate together, because if we are not, well, we used to, every time we hit 100 new members, we would do a dance party, and I would go live, and lives in Facebook were just happening at that time. And I would turn on some music, and we would do a dance party. And it became a thing. And now we do it every 5,000 members, because we get 100 people a day. So we can do one every day. But we would, and we would dance together. And we used to say no judgment, just dance parties. And so we would celebrate. And then the fourth thing, which is super important, and most people miss this, is we create strong rules and boundaries. Because what's really important about your community is that you protect them. And I did that from the very beginning, which is we don't let motivational quotes or teaching posts or social shares or a bunch of other things that come into the group and don't facilitate engagement. We started to train people to think of it like a think tank and a focus group, where you ask questions in the posts and you add support in the comments. And that's kind of the rule that we've had since the very beginning, and how we help facilitate that within the group. And that's where a lot of the magic happens, is sort of getting people to understand how to use the group. And then I will say the way that we fill our group is honestly, go get featured on shows like this. Go get featured on podcasts. Like, if you want your group to grow without you having to create a ton more content and do a ton more, is you go out to other people's audiences. And I've been featured on 1 to 2 shows every week for the last 6 years. And it is probably one of the biggest reasons that my Facebook group and the company has grown as well as it has. And it's one of the easiest. And you don't have to create new stuff all the time. You can say the same thing to different people, as opposed to saying different things to the same people.
So good. I love what you said about, leading with the question, and then having the teaching element or the support element in the comments. So good. So good. So let's dig into what you said about you have a methodology for asking good questions. I'd love to know a little bit more about that. Can you explain that?
Yeah. Okay. So there's different kinds of questions that you can ask. The first kind of question are decision support questions. Now, what happens is we get in our business, and all of us now, I mean, it's funny because all of us were virtually working for the most part anyway, but now everybody is virtually working. And we sit down and we start to go, okay, well, I've got to do this long list of things, right? And I'm going to launch a podcast, or decide what I'm putting out this week, or, what I'm going to do in my business going forward, or what new banners will look like, or I'm redoing social media, those kinds of things. Your community, and actually the online community, because I used to run focus groups, right, back in physical focus groups in companies of their employees, to understand what their employees liked or didn't like about their companies. And your Facebook group is this amazing focus group just waiting to give you answers. And so what I tell people is, number one is decision support questions. So what we have is we have a calendar we give everybody that we have a Facebook group course, and we have a calendar that says, okay, these 2 times a month, we want you to go in and you ask a decision support question. So your decision support question is, vote on, instead of saying, picking out the cover of your podcast or the cover of your new YouTube video or something along those lines, you pick 3 that you think look good, and you ask the community to tell you which one they like best. There is no better way to build buzz for things that are coming out or things that you're going to be doing in the future, and no better way to get engagement than to ask people to help you make decisions. Now, the caveat to that is, don't use polls. Just never, ever use another poll in Facebook again, because they're not very helpful for you from an engagement standpoint. But what you do is you take a picture, put the 3 pictures or the 3 pieces of text, and you go 1, 2, 3, right? And you tell them in the comments to say 1, 2, 3. Now, I've heard before where Dana says, what if I feel like some of this stuff is clickbaity? And I'm going to tell you why this is not clickbait kind of content. Because you tell a lot by the way people answer. So when you have a decision support or anything where you're asking them to answer a question for you, right, you're going to get the normal people that say, I like number 1, I like number 3, I like number 1, I like number 2, whatever that is. Then you're going to get the people that answer with a whole paragraph. Well, I like it because it's over here, and what I like about this, and I like you for this, right? And those are your super engagers. Those are the people that you now actually have conversations with, which is great because it's like the 80-20 rule. 80% of the people that are engaging are going to help the algorithm keep that post trending. And therefore, you're going to be able to keep it up at the top. More people will see it, and it will keep, getting engagement for longer, which helps you create buzz longer, helps the Facebook group look like it's popular longer, which means Facebook starts to show it to more of your members, right? So the 80% of people that are just going to say 1, 2, 3 are great, but the 20% of people that are going to answer with longer answers, you actually engage with those people. And those people give you amazing insights. They're the ones that give you the actual words you should be using in marketing and all of this amazing stuff. So you've got your decision support questions, and that's number one. Then number two, you have opinion questions, right? Which is, I'm going to start a podcast, and you have to ask everybody, what are your favorite podcasts, right? Like, we're starting a YouTube channel finally after so many years. And so we asked everybody, which kinds of shows do you prefer? Do you prefer ones that are more like an actual show, a little bit like this? Do you prefer how-to videos? Like, what do you prefer? And we got this amazing ones. We're trying to, like for decision support, we're trying to figure out if we should print out workbooks for our members, or how we should do that. And we ask people how many people print out their workbooks. And it not only helps us to make a decision, right? But then we could say, now, what are your favorite workbook? Take a picture of the favorite workbook you've ever used or gotten, or a notebook, and what you use. And now we've got an opinion one to show us design styles and things that people like. So those two are amazing because they create engagement. They help your audience feel like they're connected with you and what you're doing. They build buzz. They help feed the algorithm so you look more popular. 80% of the people that come into our Facebook group say that Facebook invited them and told them that we were cool, right? And it creates this amazing culture and engagement within your audience. So those are the first two, and I'll stop there. I've got several more, but I don't want to go on talking without you being able to say anything.
Oh no, this is gold. Stuff is amazing. So I'm just curious about one thing that really resonated with me, and I would love it if everybody else that's listening in or watching would chime in on this. But I thought it was stinking brilliant, wicked smart, whatever word you want to use, to ask them to incorporate what's your favorite planner or worksheet or whatever that you've ever used before, and then you get, not only do you get that piece of it, but they're probably going to show it to you, which means you're going to get design elements, just like you said, which I think is brilliant. I just want to say that's just the most wicked smart thing I've heard in a long time. So I just wanted everybody to, if you didn't really catch that before, yeah, that was awesome. That was really good. And you were talking about Facebook excellent strategies on engagement. Tom says, yes, excellent. So you were talking about Facebook is suggesting your group to other people. Can you share, at least at a baseline, how that works? Like, do they present your group to other people they think would be interested, or to anybody, or kind of explain how that works?
Yeah. So from what I understand, because obviously Facebook is a moving target in some ways because they're constantly changing things. But what they do is, it's a little bit like how lookalike audience works when you're doing Facebook ads, right? It's going to take a lookalike audience of the people that are in your group, and it is going to then start recommending it to people that look like the people that are in your group, right? Now, that's why I tell people filling your group with your mom and your aunt aren't helpful to you, right? I'd rather you have a really slow in the beginning growing group with the right people than a group that has a bunch of the wrong people, because then you're just going to perpetuate a bunch of the wrong people. And that's why our rules and not letting people stay in the group that don't have good intentions with your group aren't good. And that's why allowing a space where everybody's just promoting, so there's not a lot happening, doesn't help you, right? So that's kind of how it works. Is they start looking at where you are, like everybody that's in there, and they start recommending that. And those will be coming. It'll come up in their feed. It'll come in their sidebar. When they're clicking on groups, these are ones that are recommended for you. It'll kind of come up in the top for them. And so that's really good. And the way that the algorithm really works is before they start sending them to new people, right? They're going to start sending them to more of the people in your own group. So it works the same way on your page. If you have more people actually engaging on your page, it's going to start showing it to more than 2% of the people that like your page, right? Same thing in your group. Your most of your group doesn't see your posts, right? If you don't have engagement every single day and you're the only one posting and nobody else is engaging, then not everybody is going to see that something even came out. So if you feel like nobody's engaging in your group, it may be because they forgot your group existed because it's not coming up for them. The more that we get something to engage, then the more that other people start to see it. It starts to come and say, hey, something's happening in this group and you might want to see it. So that starts expanding. So the more and more you do that. So we have amazing engagement, and we have somewhere between 70 to 75% of all 50,000 people engaging within the group in some way every single month. We on average get around 4 to 5,000 posts every single month. We get somewhere between 100 and 200,000 comments every single month. And it kind of depends. Like if it's the beginning of summer, that goes down because we're all trying to figure out our kids. If it's, winter, that goes down. But generally somewhere, it's insane the amount of comments, engagements, and posts we actually get in this group compared to other groups of the same exact size that generally get a couple hundred posts a month. And that's because more people see what we are doing because of the way that we engage them with the right kind of questions.
So good. So good. So I was going to talk about content next, but I want to dig into how do you manage that first? Because you talked about the numbers and, the comments and, posts and, 70 to 75, was it 70 to 75% engage in your group every month? That's stunning, stunning. So how do you you can't do it yourself. Do you have a team that helps you? And you shook your head yes, so I'm assuming you do have facilitators that help. But let me ask you this: how did you find them? I'm curious as to how you find those people.
Yeah, well, I have a very small core team. So if you're starting a Facebook group, I generally recommend that you can start out if you want being the person that lets people in because you're gonna have a small volume, right? And then you'd get what we call ambassadors, right, in the beginning. And ambassadors in the beginning are a small, tiny group of people who are your exact ideal person. Often I say somebody that complements what you do. So there's no competition to what you do, but complements what you do and is going to go in and help you engage, help you delete things, help you, that kind of thing. I say as soon as you can, we have a whole dedicated person who just lets people in. And that person has changed over the years, but their sole job is to let people in because we do ask for email addresses. And we get somewhere around 1,000 people into my email list every month just from the Facebook group. And so I recommend having that completely separate. So it's not you, and you have a particular criteria for that so that you're getting good people in. We only let in, I would say 60% of the people that ask to get in the group. So don't just let everybody into your group, right? Because then you got to end up kicking a bunch of people out. But so we've got somebody who does that. And then the ambassadors we had for a really long time. And what we would do is they would help us, comment with things. We would allow them to help us post questions. We would meet as a group and connect and talk about the group. And that really helped us grow, and it helped them grow their spaces as well. We got to a certain size, I want to say 20,000 or so, and the ambassadors just didn't get as much out of it because they become micro famous without needing us. And so we got rid of the ambassador program and we switched over to just moderators. And right now we're actually just this week going to roll out a whole new set of moderators into the group. And those moderators are much more about deleting things and notifying people, when things aren't following our rules. And then they also just help create a positive, engaging connection with people and help people when they can see they want to engage the right way, but they aren't sure how to create those connections. And that's a free position. We don't pay that position. However, we totally raise those people up and their Facebook groups grow. We know for a fact that they get clients from it. They get clout from it. They become micro famous in the space. And that seems to work really, really well. And then we have a separate little Facebook group for those moderators where we can have discussions about what should I do about this post, or what should I do about this person, or if somebody says something mean, what should we do, so that we can a little bit kind of like an HR deal with that. I will tell you though, if you create a group in the right way, if you have the right rules and the right boundaries, then you are going to not have to manage as much as you think you are, because we have so many members that know how the group works that they flag most of the content that needs to be deleted for us. So we're going in and saying, this got flagged. We're looking through. We have people that reach out to us instantaneously and say, this thing is happening in the group. You guys might want to take a look. So our group helps us run it, which is amazing. And we don't ask them to, but I have absolutely sent personal gifts to people that I know take time more than anybody else out of their day to help make sure this stays a really great group, to say thank you, for all that you do. But yeah, it's not overwhelming. The way we teach you how to do it makes it so it's not overwhelming. And it allows for the space to grow. And it's less hassle than you would think if you're doing it the right way.
I love it. So you've talked about just being more of a facilitator of the movement, and leveraging the power of questions to get people to engage with one another. But what is, when it comes to the actual content, and I definitely, if you'll keep Jeffrey's question up there, because I want to circle back to that. But while I've got my thought process here going, I'll ask my question, then we'll come back to Jeffrey's question. But when it comes to content, like, do you have a content plan for the group, or is it more just question based? I'm just curious about that.
Okay, so I love this question because it is different than I think what everybody else is doing, which is we have two questions that you always ask when you're planning for the next month for your group. Okay. Number one is, what do you want to build buzz for? And then what do you want to actively promote? Okay. Because you do want to be able to get business from your group, right? Like I pay for my group to run. And so, and all of the things that come with that, and the time and the effort. And I have a business that's also called Boss Mom. And so, yeah, I want my group to also help me grow my business, just like I want the group to, help them grow their businesses, because mine's a business oriented. Ones that don't have business oriented still want their group to, gain benefits from it. So when you're in the space, you get two things. What am I building buzz about, and what am I promoting? So for instance, if we are talking about, like I said, we're launching our YouTube channel at the end of the month. So all month we've been asking YouTube channel questions. We've been asking people's opinions. We've been asking people, decision support. We've been asking, we're about to come out this week, and we'll be asking them to vote on banners and things they like. So what we're creating buzz for is, I'm not saying go buy something or go subscribe to something. I'm saying something's coming, but I am priming them to have it top of mind, which is really, really important. And there's a really good book called The Creative Curve. It's a good audio book. I listen to a lot of audiobooks in the car, and it talks about this familiarity, like familiar and novel. And most people aren't going to go into the cave, right, if they don't know whether or not there's a bear in the cave, right? And that's what online content really is like, okay, is this good content? Is it safe content? Is it somebody I like? Is this a good use of my time? So what we want to do is we want to build up familiarity, so when they hear about the thing that you want to actively promote and the thing you want them to buy, it is way less effort to get them to say yes, because they're like, oh, I know about that. I've been thinking about that. I've been hearing about that. It's a safe bet. I'm going to go buy it. So it's a shorter, it makes it easier to do the sale. So we are building buzz on our YouTube. So that we're asking questions about that. And then the secondary thing is, what are you actively promoting? And actively promoting then allows you to we have posts once a week, because we have a larger group. We don't do it as much if you have a smaller group, but we have posts where we actively say, don't forget about this, buy this. In our banner, oftentimes we'll flip our banner and say, this thing is on sale. We've grown Boss Mom largely on flash sales of smaller products, and then we've moved into a membership. And then, so those two things happen continually. And then what I generally recommend is everybody goes live once a week, right? You don't have to go live every day. You don't have to do any of those. Go live once a week, and you alternate. So we do permission and then training, permission and then training. And permission, for what I teach, is one of the cornerstones of what we teach. So I talked about the being brave versus being crazy, hang out with people who think you're brave. We teach what we call permission sandwiches. And one of those is basically saying, permission is giving them permission to be who they already are. So every other week you're going live talking about, like for us in Boss Mom, we say you can't cry out your intelligence, right? You're going to be a hot mess at least a couple times a month. If you cry on your bathroom floor because your kids wouldn't put their shoes on to go to school, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not crazy. You're not alone, right? We all do that. And 2 hours later, you can freshen up some makeup, turn on your ring light, and be super smart with one of your clients. And that's totally possible and totally doable. And we all do that. You're not crazy. You're brave. You're doing awesome, right? So you want these great permission lives. And then in between those, you're allowed to do a training. So what we're doing is a very finite amount of training in your group. And the great part about it is we're constantly asking our group what they want me to talk about. And then because we're a business group, we actually create prompts to allow other people to share their opt-ins. We have a promo Saturday so they can all for different categories that they can share. We have ones where we say share your Facebook group so everybody can get into other people's Facebook groups. So we help facilitate other people connecting as well. But that alternate of permission 1 week, training 1 week, permission 1 week, training 1 week, posts where we're asking to build buzz so that the next month our active promotion can be about the thing we're building buzz about, and then a finite amount of active promotion. And then because we ask for people to get into our email list, we then put them into our full nurture system. And then that allows us to really nurture them in and make those sales on the products that we are selling, but also to help tell them about the group and the other things that are going on. So we can continually be a brand that is about lifting everybody up, not just us.
Love it, love it, love it. So let's bring that question that we just had. So what's the difference between a private and a public group, and which do you recommend? You know, they've been messing with the whole privacy thing, and now they've streamlined it, and it's easier, in my opinion, to understand. But what do you recommend, Dana?
Yeah, I would never recommend a public group. The main thing about the public group is you have no control about who comes in. A truly public group, people just join, and there's no, they don't have to look at the rules. They're not, you know what I mean? There's nothing, they're not answering questions. You're not making sure they're real people. And so public to me has no real use. Public to me is like we all get together in a park and you don't get to choose who is there. And you have no control over anything. So I generally say none of those. Now, we used to have multiple kinds where you could have a closed and a private, and then they got rid of that. So your private group versus a hidden group, I believe is how they do it now. And so pretty much the idea is you want to have a group. It's basically closed, private. It's, the same situation where people are asking to come in, right? They're answering. So you get 3 questions, and they've done a great job of allowing those to be, multiple choice questions now, and give you a lot more space there. They still haven't perfected that, but you can go and they answer questions. You can say yes or no. You want them to be in the group, and they come in, and then you can moderate the group that way. If it's truly hidden, then only people I believe that you're friends with and that you invite in specifically, like nobody can see it out of anywhere. And those are best if you have, like our advisory board. We have a Boss Mom advisory board that we just started a couple months ago, and we don't need anybody looking and trying to join an advisory board. So that one's a truly hidden group. It's privately hidden. You can't see it anywhere. We invited, the 8 girls that are on the advisory committee, and they're in the group, but that group is sort of behind a locked door. Otherwise, if you have a free group, if you have a paid group, you want those to just be where it's private, but it's not hidden. And your paid groups, absolutely make it private, not hidden. 1, because having people join becomes a super pain when it's hidden. But number 2, you actually, familiarity and novelty. You want people to know you have programs. You want people to people can say, oh my gosh, I found your group. I want to join. And now you have a list of people. We used to do this for one of my past programs, a list of people where I have somebody reach out to them and say, I noticed you tried to join. This is actually comes with one of our paid programs. Would you like us to tell you about the paid program? And you have people dropping themselves into your lap that you can then tell about, and you can build familiarity. So I would always say do it private, but not hidden. And that only works for today, because Facebook, I don't know what they'll change tomorrow, but that's as of right now, I believe.
Like Facebook would change something? Like, no. Yes, just every day. So that was my next question too. Paul's asking about your email list. So I'm going to build on your question a little bit, Paul. But it was about email. So you're using the 3 questions that Facebook gives you to collect email addresses and adding about 1,000 new people to your list a month, which is amazing. Are there other ways that you move people from your group to your list? Because if you're getting 100 people a day to add it to your group, then you're missing a lot of those people. They're not all filling in all 3 questions, in other words, or they're not giving you a great email address. So what other strategies do you have in place that you can move them from your group to your list?
Okay. Yeah. So one, our email to our list is a mostly automated process. So the person that lets people into the group, she pulls that email address into a Google Sheets, and then that Google Sheet automatically zaps over to and tags over to Entreport, which is our email system, and then it follows through. So we don't have to have it. We've automated it as much as you possibly can. So that makes that easier. So that's that part. For anybody who doesn't answer our questions, and I'm part of the Facebook group community that Facebook has. And we constantly ask this because a lot of times on phones, people can't answer questions. They used to have a function where you could say, hey, don't forget to answer the questions. And they, for some reason, froze that function. So hopefully they'll bring that back. But as of right now, if they don't answer the questions, because my group is so big and we get so many requests, we just deny anybody that doesn't answer the questions. If you have a smaller group, right, that is managed, you're getting 1 to 10 people wanting to join a day, I highly recommend that you just message, or you or someone on your team message the people that didn't answer the questions and say, hey, I'd love for you to come into the group and answer, can you answer these questions? Because half the time they don't realize they didn't. They just were in a hurry or their phone knocked them out of the questions. And in that way, you can get more people in proactively. When it gets big enough, then we can't, it's too much volume for us to do that. So that's one way. The other thing is that we have a welcome post. So in your Facebook group, it says you have 10 new members, you have 50 new members today, right? And you can click that button and it accumulates all of those names, and then you can put a post to all of those people. So the person on my team every single day takes everybody that was entered in on weekdays. We don't do it on weekends because I'm a mom, so I like having our weekends like dedicated to being to doing something other than working. But during the week, we have a welcome message, and the welcome message goes out to everybody who we just said could join. And it's a templated message, and it tells them how to engage with the group. And what we did that I think everybody should do is you have units, you can activate units so that people you can do learning. You could technically make a Facebook group a course if you wanted to, right? As opposed to a course platform, you could have them take modules and complete them in your Facebook group. We use those units. We have one for training on how to engage in the group, how to get the most out of the group. We also have free resources in our units, and then we have paid resources in our units. So what we tell people when we do the welcome message is we say, hey, go over here and check out the rules. Hey, go over here and you can check out our resources. And they can go over and see all of the units, and we do a link to the units. So that way we aren't ever leaving Facebook, because Facebook likes you to stay inside, but we're able to then market all of the things we have. And in that way, our moderators and everybody, if someone's asking a question about one of our paid programs, they can go, oh, just check over here in this unit. And there's a video for me or information that can then lead them to where they want to go. So the units are great. The welcome message is great. And if you've got a small group and people aren't answering questions, then you can reach out and actually ask them, if they just forgot the questions, to answer them, and then you can get more emails that way.
So good. So good. So I'll try to make this one last question. We'll see if I can manage that. But I know one of the things that I get asked quite frequently is what types of businesses are perfect for Facebook groups? Or are there, maybe more specifically, are there certain businesses that you don't feel has an application when it comes to Facebook groups?
Oh, that's a tough one because I am a marketer. So anytime someone says, no, it's good for everybody, I'm like, well, that's a terrible answer. Nothing's good for everybody. I think I think that it is harder to have and grow groups where you're talking about really highly sensitive information. For groups about trauma, for groups, life coaching, those kinds of things can be not harder to grow, but they will take more effort from you because there is a larger necessity for a feeling of safety and protection in those groups. So keep in mind that if you're asking people to open up in ways that are really vulnerable, then that's going to require some extra effort from you. It can absolutely work, and there are massively awesome, thriving groups in that space. I have seen groups because at Social Media Marketing World have done panels before, meet other people. We've got groups where, they're helping facilitate, the Little League. We've got ones for divorced moms. You've got ones for cyclists. You've got ones for any kind of diet you've ever thought about. One of my awesome clients she actually does a particular kind of weight loss for just women who ride horses. They're just women who ride horses. That's that specific. And so I would say that a group where you want to get people who think like you together is better. I say the more specific you can make your group, the better. As to the kind of people that you want in your group, that's going to help you grow, because there's absolutely enough people to fill that group and make it useful and for everybody. I think that if you have a business oriented group, name your group something that is not catchy. Name your group something. Think of your group name as keyword searching, right? Because that's going to help you, as opposed to people going, oh, I don't know what it is I do in there. So, but in business groups, recognize that it is more saturated, I think, than other groups, except for maybe the health and wellness industry has definitely has a lot of groups, and they do a lot more of the pop-up groups. But I definitely think if you've got a business group, make the name so it's not catchy, make the name so it makes sense. It sounds like what it is that you're doing in there. And then make sure that you are not trying to be huge. You're trying to be really specific to the kind of thing that you're going to be talking about and connecting in that space. And then you can grow. And I think one of the big things is, a Facebook group is just like anywhere you guys go, right? Which means if you go there once, it's maybe easy to forget. But if there's something that happens in the group, or there's something that they show you that if the next time you think of this, we're the place for you, then you think about going back and you tell your friends, and you bring your friends the next time. It's the same thing. If you have a group that is completely confusing the market because it's just a bunch of random stuff happening in a space, even if that stuff is just random business stuff, then they're not going to think of you the next time, which means no matter what your business you have, your group isn't going to grow. The more you can really hone in, I have a client who's doing a group, and she's helping women over 40 deal with aging, like age the way you want to age. And so we were talking about, in that group, we have to start having that whenever they're picking up something and they're going, wow, this used to work. I wonder if this is good for me now, right? Like, who has experience with this particular beauty, or wellness product? Like, oh, I've never noticed that there before, right? Or this doesn't work the same way. So we came up with these lists of questions of things that we want them to think about when they are to go, oh, I need to go into that group. And because of that, we're starting to then train everybody to start posting and connecting in those spaces. So I think no matter what what your business is, what you want to group on, to be your group to be about, then you need to think about what kind of questions would you want people to ask, and how would you want people to connect, and then help really train and facilitate them to do that. Otherwise, no matter what kind of group you have, 9 times out of 10, it won't grow.
So good. So good. I love that. That begs one more question. I promise this is the last question. But I'm curious, like, one of the things I have had Facebook groups for years. I mean, all of my Facebook groups right now are paid groups. But I started with a free group, and then I evolved into a membership, and I think you have a membership as well. So can you talk a little bit about how, you can start with free and then pull a segment of more interested, or you start to maybe you solve a core one thing, instead of it being not necessarily a course or a training or something, but where people are maybe a little bit more advanced than what's happening in the group, and they're willing to create an opportunity for them to pay you a monthly membership fee, because I know you have a membership as well. What did that look like, that journey for you?
Yeah, so we have, our Nurture to Convert Society is our membership, and it's it is your paid versus your free is definitely different, right? Your free is much more of facilitating conversation. Your free is much more about making sure everybody else is raised up, and that you are walking that line between giving permission and doing any kind of training, so that that's not just all about you. Your paid group is a little bit more about you, because they've said they want more of you, right? They want that. So those group, I actually try to create my free group to where I can get assistance earlier on with ambassadors, and now with moderators on my team, to help me know if I need to engage in that space, but to not be in there as much as I'm in my paid group, because really making sure my paid group gets results is where I'm able to make my income. And so because of that, we allow, it's like the rules are different, right? In this one, we're not going to necessarily allow promo, but in our paid one, depending on what you're doing. But for us, I want to know if you have something you're releasing or something that's coming out, so we can help heighten those results for you. So there's a difference in what you want people to promote and talk about in the different groups. There is basically because it's a paid membership, we have a little bit of a different of a process where of different questions, because what we do is once they've bought something, we give them a password, and one of our questions asks for that password, and then they can give us that password, and we, without us having to go check, we know that they're in our space, and so we're able to facilitate in that way. And I will say our paid membership, because we deal with business building, we have much more people posting their links to their content for us to help review and take a look at things, which are things we wouldn't allow in our larger space. Like you can't go and promote your opt-in in the bigger space, but if you have one in our smaller paid group, we want to know those things. So recognize the difference in what you'd want people to promote in each space. But I also often talk about the membership side. I would tell you, if you have a paid membership, one of the big things you want to do is every single week, ask people for aha moments they have that week based on what they're doing with you in your paid program, and just take screenshots of all of those testimonials, because people do not get enough testimonials, and use those in your larger group with their permission to, or gray out their name, to let people know that you have this awesome thing. So those active promotion posts that you end up doing limited time in your free group help facilitate moving people over. And a lot of people in your paid groups are going to be in your free groups as well. And a lot of times we have the people that are in our paid spaces being the moderator for the free group. So it all becomes a really nice sort of symbiotic relationship.
So good, so good. I love that you have some of your paid members actually being a part of that process too. So ring light winner. So Karen, you're the winner of the ring light. Let me put this over here where you can see it. So girl, if you will just go up to the little message box up here, the send message, send us your mailing address, and we will get that out in the mail to you ASAP. And who won the webcam cover is Judine. I hope I said that correctly. Judine McCullough. So Judine, if you would do the same, go, go send message and give us your mailing address. And then the winners for the easel.com 3-month trial. You guys are going to love this. Tony Anderson, Colleen Ladwick, and Angela Whetstone. If you guys will just send us your email address. We don't need your mailing address, just an email, a working email, and we'll get you set up, and you'll have 3 months access to easel.com. If you are not a winner, definitely check out our sponsor, easel.com, because they are a great little tool. I think you're going to love them, and you can catch the replay as soon as the live is over. If you jumped in late, or you didn't, hear everything, or you feel like you needed to dig into some of the nuggets that Dana said, watch the replay, guys, because she dropped some amazing, amazing nuggets for us. So, Dana, thank you so much for being here. And if you would take a minute and just tell everybody where they can connect with you.
Yes. Yeah. That's so funny, right? When you started talking, my son finally, like, they were awake with their iPads, and he finally came out, and we do this thing where he kind of like touches the thing that's like, I need something. And I'm like, I need 2 minutes. So he's sitting, I'm like holding his hand over on the side. The joyful parents running business thing all in the same household.
Yes.
So everybody can go to boss-mom.com. You can find the Boss Mom podcast there. We have a YouTube channel for Nurture to Convert show that's going to be coming out at the end of the month. So another week, I think. And we have a new Boss Mom Spotlight where we're spotlighting women within every 2 weeks. We spotlight somebody who's doing really amazing things just in our overall community, which has been really, really awesome. And and it's got just all the good stuff. And it tells a little bit about our story, our journey. I've actually written 3 books. So it tells you all about all 3 books. You can find it all there.
You so much for being here and sharing your awesomeness with us. And I'm hoping that somebody heard something today. If they've been like, okay, I need a Facebook group, go do it, one. Or if you have a Facebook group and maybe it's not thriving as well as you would like it to, I hope you lean in, re-listen to the replay, and seriously dig into what Dana had to share with us, because I'm like, I picked up some amazing tips myself. So definitely go back and listen in, and and dig in, because if Facebook groups are still a huge opportunity, in my opinion. I know Dana would definitely agree with me on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys, thank you for being here with us. Thank you, Dana, again for being here. I'm always appreciative of the time you spend with me. So thank you. Thank you. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe, and God bless.